Alright, how's it going, everybody? So I'm going to do a very brief overview on how to set up a tubeless system, or how to seat a tubeless tire, only using CO2 and hand pump. Not all of us have air compressors available, and the first time I tried setting up my tubeless system, I had a really difficult time. So I just figured, after doing it a lot with a CO2 cartridge, someday I should just buy an air compressor, because it is wasteful. These things are expensive. But yeah, I just figured I'd put this video together to help out other people who may be looking to just, set up a tubeless system for the first time, with readily available items. So the first thing, obviously, get your tire. Make sure it is tubeless compatible. For Maxxis, it says TR, which means tubeless ready. This is a Maxxis icon, and I'm currently setting up my tires for the Silk Road Mountain Race. I just took off my Maxxis Ramblers, which is what I use for training, and throwing on the icons for the race. So this is the wheel set I'll be throwing it on. It's a Hi-Fi Hootenanny. And first thing to do is, if you have not done so already, set up your stem, your tubeless valve stem. So just kind of like, make sure you've got obviously make sure you have the tape in there, and you've got the rubber, kind of like a rubber O-ring that I put before the little ring that you tighten. So I just kind of like hand tighten it, not too much. I don't want to like damage or scratch the rim. You don't want to collapse the O-ring too much, but yeah, just making sure the valve is on hand tightened. I have already removed the valve stem, the valve core, because I'm going to be using the CO2. So it'll be a lot easier to just, pop the CO2 cartridge on when I'm ready. I've got the CO2 canister ready. Gotta screw it in. 20 grams is what I use, because it's one of the bigger sizes. It just, it makes things easier when you're popping 20 grams versus like 16. Sometimes maybe you won't have enough air if you use a smaller CO2 cartridge. So I just opt for the larger one. And then I've got a bottle of Simple Green solution, a distilled mix of water and Simple Green. Tubeless a valve core remover, and if you need them, tire levers, and of course your sealant of choice. I really like Orange Seal Endurance. Orange Seal Endurance. It's worked well for me. Nice and viscous, so it also helps get your sidewall sealed. Yeah. All right, let's do this. So I am starting with a completely new tire, because I figure, maybe this is your first time at setting up tubeless, and so you probably have a new set of tires you're going to use as well. New tires are typically a little bit more difficult to set up at first. I didn't do it this time, but what I typically do to prepare the tire is unwind it, unwrap it, that is, and then just get it into shape. And I'll let it sit like this for a day or two, just a day. Just let it get into shape, get those little wrinkles on it smoothed out, or you can just kind of mount it dry to the tire, or to the wheel, and just let it sit for a little while. That'll help, get it shape, and might make it a little easier for you to mount tubeless. But yeah, so we're just gonna do it fresh out of the package. Now, this is always tricky with a dirty tire, but there we go. Just determine where the rotation spot is. Make sure you've got that aligned properly. And for appearance's sake, match the logo with the valve. And then just pop on the first side of the tire. Pop on the first bead. Don't do both of them just yet, just the one. Alright. First bead is set. Now we're going to rotate to the other side. And what I'm going to do is start seating it, but I'm not going to do it all the way. I'm just going to do maybe like half, 3/4 of it. Alright, here we go. So, this is what I like to do. I've seated about 3/4 of the bead. It's kind of rolling off, which is fine, but a lot of people, or I don't know, it depends on your preference. I used to fully seat the tire and then inflate with sealant, but I feel like it just gets super messy. These things never like seal properly along the valve, and it's always kind of like running out of the valve and getting messy, so I don't like to do that anymore. All I do is, like I've shown you, keep a bit of the sidewall open, and then I just dump the amount of sealant in there that I want to be in there. So since this is going to be for the Silk Road Mountain Race, I'm going to put in a good amount of sealant, which is going to be 4 ounces. Typically I do 2 to 3 ounces for just like standard training rides, shorter races, but going above and beyond this time. So 4 ounces, to give you an idea, is going to be 2 of these. Alright, drop it in the first one. Look at that, made a mess already. And round 2. Drop it in again. Alright, so we've got one side of the bead set, the other side is not set, and we've got the 4 ounces of sealant in here. Now I'm gonna start setting the bead from the location of the sealant. Bear with me for a moment. Alright, getting close. It's always that last one. There we go. Okay. Fully seated. I'm gonna roll it a little bit, let that sealant kind of work its way along the sidewall. And now I'm going to shake this a little bit and get the bubbles going. Do a nice light coating along the sidewall. There we go. And kind of massage the tire along the rim. So the reason I'm doing this is because in my experience this helps with the seating process. By getting the bead a little bit wet and the bubbles from the simple green, that kind of helps with preventing the air from escaping when you're using the CO2 to inflate the tire and set the bead. So what I'll do is just set the tire on the ground and start rolling a little bit. It's gonna get a little bit messy, but this also helps kind of like form the tire to the bead. Next is the CO2 part. And now for this part of the show, make sure you got your CO2 canister wrapped with something because it gets really cold and you don't want to get frostbite or anything. Also, have your valve core readily available to plug the stem once you've inflated the CO2. And here we go. That's a good sound. You could hear the bead setting. So CO2 is empty. We're gonna take it out and quickly plug the stem with the finger. Now it's valve core going in. Before you let out too much air, hand tighten it. Now I'm going to use the valve core remover or valve core tool and tighten that a little bit. So right now would be a good time. Sometimes it's useful to have some like needle nose pliers so you can hold the stem while you're tightening the valve core. You may not be able to see, but the stems are rotating. So I'm just gonna use both hands real quick, see if I can tighten this. But yeah, if you need to, just have some needle nose pliers around. That can help with the tightening of the stem or holding the stem in place when you're tightening the valve core. Okay, all set. So there it is. It's seated, and I'm gonna use my hand pump, inflate it to about 30 psi to fully inflate it and get it seated. And then also a helpful thing that I like to do is just kind of like roll it when it's inflated, so that you can help the sealant seal to the sidewall. I also like to just throw it, rotating it a little bit and letting it bounce back to me. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a habit. Who knows if it actually does anything good. But in my mind, it's helping move that sealant and just like, you know, setting that bead with the bouncing. Once you've got it set, go for a ride. Just has to be a short one, like around the block or something, but don't just set the tires and then leave them, because the sealant may not be fully or the bead may not be fully sealed against the sidewall. So it helps to get a little bit of riding in to get the sealant to work, get the bead to fully set against the sidewall, really minimize the small amount of leaking that can occur. But yeah, hopefully this helped. Thanks for watching.